Welcome to Swashbuckling with Code. I'm Jimmy Cleveland, and I hope you're ready to make our homepage look a little bit better with some CSS love. Ugh, would you look at that blue? Bleh, that just won't do. So now we're going to have to change this. And I think the best place to start here would probably be to make a little component. This link that we have wrapping everything, well, we can make that a component right here, and we'll probably move it out into its own file in a moment, but for now, it's fine to co-locate this here. So we'll say const, and what we want to do is name this, I'm going to name it a PostCard, I think. And that is going to be a styled. Now this is going to be a little bit different here because we could just make it like a div or whatever, but this is already a component, right? So what we need to do is you can actually pass any component in if you call this as a function, and then you can just add these little backticks on afterward. Whoa, don't do that after. Like read my mind there, that was weird. And then we can just write our CSS like normal, okay? Pretty cool, right? So let's just for now say like background red and boom. It doesn't like that, of course, because we need to import styled. So we're going to import styled from, and this is going to be at emotion styled here. And this will still work with emotion 10 or emotion 11, depending on where you're at during the video. We originally installed emotion 10. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm kind of waiting for them to smooth out those issues that they've had with the transition with Gatsby and all that. Also, a quick little disclaimer that you might want to know. I'm currently typing on a different keyboard, so I might be a bit dumb at times, and I apologize for that. I'm kind of in the middle of learning it. If you want to see real quick, it's called the Moonlander, and I've been having a bit of a repetitive stress syndrome, and like in my wrist. Getting a little bit of pain, and so I've gotten one of these kind of ergonomic ones that's pretty cool, and I'm liking it so far. It's pretty awesome. I don't want to waste your time any more than that, but I thought you might want to know if I start typing things funkily or I'm having a hard time. It's pretty weird to get used to. I thought about like going back to my other keyboard in the middle or to record this video, but it messed me up even more, so I'm too far in. So let's continue here. So we've got this postcard. And then what we're going to want to do is change this link here to be a postcard as well. And it's that easy. Save that. And now, actually, this is CSS. So we want that semicolon there. And that should work. Let's see. Did I mess up my server? No, that looks fine. These should have a background of red on the postcard. Maybe they do. Let's change this to, let's see, postcard, style, link. Let's change this to color red and see if we get anything like that. There we go. No background here. Why? Yeah, I noticed that this isn't coming up as a color either. That's very peculiar. We'll come back to that. Well, so that's definitely not the color that we want, obviously. What we probably should do is go over here to our global CSS, and we can grab this color right here for the body color. Let's just make that the default. And that's just because our links are, everything's getting colored by the fact that this is wrapped in a link tag. So we'll do that. Beautiful. Next thing we're going to want is like text decoration to be none. Let's get rid of that. Okay, we're starting to get there, right? Now, this is probably a good point to introduce CSS variables. You could do this through like a theme provider, which is a common pattern for styled components. You can just look up theme provider for emotion or anything like that. But I think we're kind of transitioning to CSS variables where we can, and even some of the new style component libraries are doing that, like stitches and such. So I think that this works fine for our purposes since we have a global CSS right now. So what we can do is we can come over here and we will say we can do it on the root here. You can use this little root tag to do this. And then you can do dash dash, and then let's start with our BG. So our background is going to be old lace, and you can just use, regular CSS there. Then we're also going to have like a text color. And we'll do that. This, what is this? 5. Yeah, that one. That's the one I want. And might as well just do like primary heading while we're at it. And that's saddle brown. And that'll be good for now. Okay, so if you're not familiar with CSS variables, real brief introduction to them. They've got pretty good support right now in general across browsers. And you can define them like at different scopes, which is pretty neat. We're defining it this root, so everything has access to it. And then how you would use that is you would come down here and instead of this color like this, you would say color var. This is like a function. And this var will be dash dash. And then you can just put text. There you go. And then that will work the same way. Okay. You notice there's no change here. So let's put it right here as well. We'll say var, and this will be dash dash bg. And here, just so that you can tell, like take it off. See how that turned white? I don't know if you can see that. Boom, there we go. So it's that simple. Now what's cool about that is we come back over here to our index, and now we can use that in all our style components since it's at the root there. So we can say var dash dash, and we want it to be our text color. Now, why am I calling it text, you might wonder as well? Because a lot of times when you see CSS variables, this will be like brown, or this will be beige or white, and it's like your variant of it. You don't want the default, brown color here. You want your own version. This makes it a little bit harder to name it like this, but I think it's for the best in my experience. The reason is because it's kind of foolish to name, let's say, like primary heading here. Instead of changing primary heading, what if I just made that like saddle brown, and I just named it brown, or I named it orange, or whatever I want? Well, what happens when your brand or your theme or something changes to the point where like now you use purple, or now you use red, or now you use whatever? You've got this like name issue where everything is called brown and it's actually going to be a red. That's the whole point of the variable, is that I only set it this one time, and then now I don't have to go and find and replace every single instance of this like text color. I can just change it this one place, and that will cascade throughout all the rest of the styles, and they'll all be affected by it instantly. So at any point I can say, hey, text, I want you to be red, which we don't want, but there you go. Now the body text by default is red. So that's pretty cool. So that's why I just call it text. Another quick scenario that you might want to consider is, what if you're doing the cool new thing, which is where you have a light and a dark theme, and it's based on the user's preference? Well, if I were to name this like dark brown or dark text or whatever, that also wouldn't make very much sense when you invert them, right? So you kind of want to think of them as like these abstract names. That way, when you switch your theme to a light or a dark, the name still makes sense. Hopefully that has some logic too. Gives you a peek into my logic of why I'm doing it that way. So let's go back to this. Okay, so we've got our text set, and we got a color, we got a text decoration. Okay, basic stuff, no big deal, right? What we want next actually is, I would say, let's try to like add some accents to things to kind of make them stand out. We want some different font sizes, want some different margins. And so in order to do that, I'm going to come over here and say, okay, well, this H3, I'm going to give this a class name, and that's going to be equal to title. Now, why is it title? Just because this is from the title property. Now, then I'm going to say class name. And this might be weird to you if you do style components before, or maybe it's not, but I'll explain it in just a moment. Let me write these out. So this is going to be the date, and then this will be the class name, and then that is going to be the excerpt. Let's make sure I don't spell that wrong. And then finally, let's make this one. I don't want to type that whole thing out, so I'm going to TTR, time to read. Cool. Now, what's cool about this is then I can just say, okay, well, dot title, I want to make this title. Well, let's start with making the margin 0. And then I'll also make the font size 20 pixels. Just kind of randomly throwing that out there. Minor adjustment there, right? And you won't see the margin too much because the thing after it has margin. And that's actually why I'm setting it to 0. Okay, so another quick thing to explain is in styled components, what's cool about this is that because this thing is like name scoped around this component, you can use these really simple class names like this. And that's a feature I really love about style components, is that I can just do title here and I don't have to worry about it colliding anywhere else. So let's say that like this had a title right here. If I just named this class name title. Oh, so I didn't put an equals there. Haha. Okay, so you can see that I made this H1 right here title, but it didn't change anything at all, even though I put that title. That should be pretty obvious, but I just wanted to make it extra obvious and clear. That's because this is all scoped under this component. These styles will only apply to this. So obviously you can do that in CSS as well, but it's a little bit more natural, I think, in this way, just because it automatically happens in, under this individual format. And so what's cool about that is you can reuse these, but what's not maybe apparently intuitive right away is that if I were to set some global styles of like just dot title, well, this still has a dot title, so it would be affected by that. So you basically kind of want to get out of globally class changing things where you can. It's a whole balancing act, of course, but usually when you go style components, you kind of go all into that level. Now, the reason I brought this up, to wrap this little idea up here, is because some people go crazy and they will make every single one of these things a styled component. And I understand that, and in some situations it kind of makes sense, but I think it kind of defeats one of the cool benefits of style components, which is the name scoping thing. Like, I don't know why you would make this H3 like styled H3 and then styled P and styled P. That's kind of a lot of work to do in general. So I don't really agree with it personally, but you know, if you've got an opinion on it, go ahead, change my mind. Throw something in the comments. Maybe you've got some experience as to why you think that's cool. All right, we're moving on. So now that you've got the gist of that, what's pretty cool is we can go, okay, well, I'm going to say, well, okay, I want, let's just name all these out. And the reason that I want to do this is because I want to set margin 0 on each of these things. I got to think about this one. Yeah. Margin 0. And then finally, .ttr. Oops. I got by my keyboard there. Okay. We're okay. We're doing fine. See that? Boom. Everything got squished together. So the reason that I just did that is because there was going to be a juggling act of like, I took the margin off of this, but it still exists on the date. So it's like, you know, margin collapse and all that. It's a lot easier to just start from 0 personally. And then I'm kind of a fan of each thing has its own margin bottom. That pushes things down. So let's start with that. So here we'll say we're going to do 0, 0, 0 point. So top and right, and then bottom 0.3 rem. Just give it a little nudge down. And then on date here, we're going to do, yeah, I kind of, actually now that I think about it, I might want these to shift positions. Because I think I want this to go down here and this to go up here. Because I kind of have an idea in mind where I'm going to make this like sort of like a pill shape or like a little accent to make it stand out. And I think that would look the best at the bottom. Bear with me. We'll get there. Let's do this. Okay, so now we've got date. And I'll say, well, actually, since we moved them, I know I'm a stickler. I want these to be kind of like in the same order, just to make sense. We could just collapse all that, sure. Whichever way is fine. I don't care about that part. So let's do TTR next. So TTR, time to read. Let's make that 7 rem, 0.7 rem. And you can use whatever units you want here. It's just a typical thing for me to use for margin and padding to use rem. And let's do font size. Whoa. 14 pixels here. I want to make that a little less focused. And now the color, this is going to be interesting. So what we want is kind of like the saddle brown range, but I want to tip it into a different spectrum a little bit here. Whoa. So I think what I want to do here, I'll probably send this down to the bottom. We're gonna have to play a little juggling act here for just a little bit. I don't need that. This is hard when you have to like have everything zoomed. So here you can see we have this color here, and what I'm kind of looking for is something that's sort of like vibrant, like this orange, but that's kind of hard to read. So I kind of want to tip it down here. And then what you want to pay attention to is that, oh, we don't have a background set for it right now though, huh? So it doesn't have contrast information. Well, I was trying to make sure that it was set based on accessibility standards, but we will get to that. Just give me a moment. I'm going to put it, you know, somewhere around here, I think. Yeah, somewhere around here is fine. Take that over here. And you know, if you don't like these colors, feel free to make your own. Do whatever you like. Okay, now we're on the excerpt. So the excerpt is probably gonna have a font size, just like normal text, like 16 pixels. And then margin, we'll do 0, 0, like 0 point, maybe 5 rem. Just kind of winging it here. Okay, let's do this. We will say, let's give this a background color. And this background color, I'm gonna start with our old lace to kind of figure out what I want. I don't want to use my CSS variables here because what I want to do is I actually want to inspect this date here, and we're gonna drag that around. And so I want to actually, let's go off of this color. So we'll drop this, and that looks fun. And then what we're gonna do is try to like desaturate this somewhere around here. And that'll be good. Patience, we're getting there. I wish you wouldn't do that. Okay, and then our color is probably gonna be based on old lace or something like that. Now you can, what I'm going for here is I want to do some sort of like border radius rounded thing. And the trick here that's kind of funny is I just typically do this to give it that like pill shape or perfectly rounded shape. Like sometimes you can do like 50%, but you'll see in this instance it's not really reliable because it's not big enough. It just looks funky. So you just pick some high pixel value and it only rounds so much, and that'll work for you. Then we're gonna want some padding. Now the padding I'm looking for in particular is gonna be like 3 pixels, 8, 10. That font is way too big though. So let's do font size. I wish I could use my Emmet abbreviations here, but I haven't quite figured that out yet. We'll make this 12 pixels as well. We want this to kind of be small like the date in general. And now we don't want it to go all the way across there. That's pretty silly. So we'll say the display is going to be inline block so that it's still block, so things wrap underneath it, but it's inline so that it goes and only fits to the size of it. That's looking a little bit better here. And then actually let's try to space these posts out by saying margin, and I'll probably move this up in a moment, but we'll say 0, 0, and like 2 rem. Ooh, this needs to be, this is an anchor tag, so this also needs to be display block, huh? Display block. And it's not formatting for me, so let's just do a quick format. There we go. Getting there. Getting there. Okay. I think I added, ooh, too many numbers. Yeah, I was like, my margin just looks funky here, because it was all indented. There we go. That's looking a little bit better. We're getting closer. Okay. Let's close that for just a moment so we can see this ugliness. Now, the next direction that we want to take this, I think that they should actually have kind of like a card look, like where they stand out a little bit, just me personally. And then we'll start messing with, you know, making sure we get our colors at a good accessible level here. So what we can do is we can say, well, I want the background to be So a little trick here is that in order to make the background kind of the right look, even though this isn't like a gradient or anything in the back, what I like to do is do an RGBA, and then you can do like 0. You can do whatever color you want to start with. Why can I not type? Oh, we know why. And then I make it like half opacity. Now check this out. So what this is going to do is it's going to let this bleed through, and then I will kind of just use this color picker to be like, find the range that I want. So this is too much white. You know, this is a little bit too crazy here. We just kind of want to go around maybe like there. Actually, we should stick to completely neutral though. Somewhere around here. So this will kind of get me in the right range. You know, I feel like usually this kind of works a little bit better for me, but because of this kind of off-white that we have, it's making it a little bit difficult. So let's start with old lace, and then let's kind of just like go this direction. Yeah. Somewhere around there, just to give it kind of an accent. I don't know how that's looking on your monitor, but I think that's okay for now. Why is there so much to paste? And we're going to want some padding. We'll do 1 REM, 1.5 REM. Just kind of a usual here. That's the reason why more on the sides. This is just me personally, but I feel like it's a little bit, the top and bottom like natural line height that comes with the text makes it feel a little bit too tall. If you were to do like 1.5 REM here, you'll see that like, yeah, I just feel like it's a little bit too tall personally, just because of the line height, but you know, obviously do as you will. We're going to do border radius. I'll just pick 5 pixels, you know, I'm a fan of that. Random range. Pretty subtle there. Yeah, and that's coming together a little bit more. Okay, so this will give us a good opportunity here. We should see no contrast information. Why do you think there's no contrast information, I wonder? Let's make this full screen real quick and see if we're getting some goofy stuff. And inspect this. So this one should for sure have contrast information. Let's pick this color. Yeah, look, there we go. So we got a 1 check on this one. So this is kind of what I'm talking about here. You want to look for at least like a double check here. Oh wait, no, it's 1 check because they do AA is 1 check and then AAA is, that's confusing to me, but okay. I kind of like the way Firefox does it a little bit better personally, but that'll be all right. Old lace. If we move this, it's already AA, and you should try for AAA where you can, but AA is sufficient in my opinion. Hopefully no one will crucify me for that opinion, but I think that that's fine, and I don't want these to like stand out a ton anyways. I'm actually going to dial this back like a little bit and kind of make it a little more desaturated because I want it to stand out like a little bit just to kind of like break up the monotony, and the date is kind of important, so that's why I moved it to the bottom because I think that's more important than this like a lovely 1 minute read thing, and I'll probably change that too. So that's kind of my reasoning. You know, make sure that you pick and choose where your emphasis is here. And let's go back to here. And let's fix this scenario where I got us into madness land. Well, actually, no, that's fine. It's fine. It's fine. We're fine. Okay, background. We just did our background color on the date. It always adds that extra pound, and that's so obnoxious. Now we just want to make sure that we're still accessible, and we are. Cool. Since I tinted that down a little bit, you want to make sure. Now here, this is the one that I really want, and I'm kind of sad that it has no contrast information here. That seems really strange to me. Let me show you. I'm going to open up over here a Firefox window. I'm gonna bring it over in just a second. This is the one that we didn't have any information for. Check out this color right here. And you can see that as we drag this around, we are not accessible, we are AA, we are AAA. I personally prefer that, the way that Firefox does it, but you know, that's just me. So you can see that we can kind of like, this is just, we can't read that. We can tilt this down a little bit, and then we can go, okay, that's just enough where I've got this nice little accent that I want, and I am still AA accessible. And in fact, you know, we could try to take it. This one's actually meant to be red, so we can keep tilting it down. Wow, you have to get really far down there to get AAA. Okay, I'm gonna go in this direction. Okay, let's do that. Come back over to our code. And that was the TTR color. I gotta kill my X. Okay. And then since we've got that up, we can now put we can close this, and then we can put this over here to the side, just so that, oh, don't do things to me. We can see it as we're updating it. All right, cool. Yeah, I think that is probably pretty good. What's probably driving you crazy, is driving me crazy, is this little footer thing. This doesn't go all the way down, and eventually you have enough posts, so that won't be an issue. But we can fix that right now with a little hack here. So what we can do is our layout component, we have a fragment right now. And what we could do is we could do make a root container here. So we'll say const root, what should we call it? Container, wrapper, because we already have a container. I was actually going to make it like a flex wrapper, but that's what we're doing. Okay, sorry. So then we'll say display flex. Yo, this keyboard's messing me up. Okay, it's fine. Flex direction. Column. I appreciate your patience and bearing with me in these troubling times while I learn to actually type. And then we just do a min height of 100 viewport height. Okay, so that's going to make this wrapper that has a flex on it. It's going to shift the flex direction up to down. That's what column is going to do there. And then we'll just say, well, that whole thing should be 100 viewport height, because this wraps our entire page, so we can do that. So then that we'll just go right here, root wrapper. And then we'll go down here and change that, root wrapper. And okay, so we're close. It bumped down a little bit, but now what we need is this container right here. We should actually make this a styled component as well. Although we could just target .container in this instance. It's really up to you. Yeah, I think that we're going to want to do enough styles here, and we're going to want to move them out of global styles, that it should be a component. So I'm going to call this just container. This is just like a generic container. This is like the centering part of all of our content here. Okay, and then so we'll do, let's make that const container equals style.div as well. And we could probably make some more like semantic tags here at this point. I'm just not really thinking about that because I'm worried about styles right now. You know. So now this container will be flex 1. So we want this to take up as much space as it possibly can. And there you go. Boom. Now don't worry about this being shifted over to the side. That's because we've got some global CSS we're going to move over. But you can see now that the footer always goes to the bottom. That's pretty cool, huh? And if we were to go to this page, you can see it's at the very bottom there. And then there's all the space. And it's lovely. Okay. So now, see this container right here? Look how cool this is. I can just be like, yank all of that stuff. Actually, let's delete it because we don't want that thing to even be there anymore. And then we'll come down here and we'll just paste all of that right here. So that just got pasted down here. And we can just delete this class here. And before you know it, it's all coming together now, isn't it? So there we go. So last thing probably here. Let's see, I'm going to change this. Where is it? A lovely. I'm just going to make this a little shorter here because I think it's drawn too much attention to it. I'm just going to do a standard whatever minute read. 1 minute read, 1 minute read, 4 minute read. Yeah, you know, you could tweak it a little bit one way or another. Maybe you want this to be a little more beige or a little warmer or whatever, you know. But I think that that's pretty good. That's a pretty good launch point here. All right, so now we've got... this thing working pretty well. And of course, you should check responsive. So you should come over here and be like, okay, how do you look? Do you look okay like this? Yeah, header's probably a little bit big. We could stand to lower that size a little bit. Then you bring it onto mobile. There we go. I think that's looking a lot better. And we can wrap this one up here. And I like that, we've got the super fast, snappy little cards here, just clicking back and forth. It's fun. I like Gatsby. It's got, it's cool to click around on the site that you've made and just see how fast and responsive it is, especially, you go and you surf on some other pages and a little bit laggier. Obviously, this is a pretty simple site, but it's still noticeable. So hope you're happy with that, and I'll see you in the next one.